Almighty God, we humbly beseech you to bless this council and all who are engaged in the work of local government. Grant that we may order all things in your wisdom, righteousness, and peace, to the honor of your name and the good of your people who dwell in this city. Amen. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Ndlovu, fellow councillors, Town Clerk, Mr. Dube, heads of council department, staff members, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, this is our first meeting in this new year, and allow me and the Deputy Mayor to wish you all the very best for 2024. We have an enormous amount of work to do. We have huge challenges which face us all. And my own prayer is that the good Lord would give us great wisdom. Many of the issues that we face, quite frankly, without the good Lord's assistance and wisdom are insurmountable. But I'm confident that with us working together, we can overcome these challenges. Very sadly, during this last festive season, we've lost two eminent sons of our great city, Eric Moyo and Bob Nyabindi. Eric Moyo, I'm informed, was an ambassador of the city of Bulawayo and was a member of the Overcomers and Achievers Choir, and he gave prominence to many musicians who are themselves now celebrated right across Zimbabwe. Bob Nyabindi was a role model in various spheres of life, distinguished himself as a very accomplished and prolific footballer who attained a FIFA coaching certificate. He was a committed educationist, a manufacturer, a trader in musical instruments, as well as a gifted composer. And I'm sure that you will all join me as we celebrate the lives of these two great men, and as we pass our condolences to the bereaved families. We are all conscious of the challenges that we face. We will go into this in a bit more detail, but I'm pleased to report to you that on our biggest challenge that we face, namely water, the Deputy Mayor and the Town Clerk and senior management members met this morning with the Minister of Lands and Water, Dr. Masuka, and the Provincial Minister. We had a highly constructive meeting, which I think is going to see considerable progress in the near future regarding water. And we will elaborate on that in our discussions later on. But from my perspective, I'm sure from the Deputy Mayor's perspective, it was a very constructive start to the new year, knowing the challenges that we face in particular regarding water. But of course, in meeting these issues, we have major financial challenges in finding the resources that we need to address some of these infrastructural projects. We can't solely rely on government to fund them. And I had a very sobering meeting yesterday. The town clerk kindly invited me to a meeting with senior management, just an ad hoc informal meeting, a sort of strategy meeting for the year. And the first item on the agenda of that meeting was the massive amount of money owed to the city, and there was a broad discussion, which we will no doubt ourselves get embroiled in, regarding how we can encourage the defaulters to pay. And there are some very sobering statistics regarding the debts owed to this council. As of the 30th of November, these debts stood at US $51,885,668. I stress US dollars, 51 million. These include government debtors of 3.8 million, industrial and commercial debtors of 15.8 million, and domestic debtors, which are 32 million. And one of the points raised yesterday was that when we are unable to deliver services, and as we all know, in the past month, we have not managed to deliver water. We've had 120-hour water shedding. Our roads are in a catastrophic state. And unfortunately, in that environment, human nature kicks in. And people are always more inclined to pay their bills if they feel that they're going to get something in return in terms of service delivery. And so when we have water shedding, when we are unable to rehabilitate our roads, unfortunately, it leads to that general malaise in society where people feel, why should we pay? Because we're getting nothing back. But it is a chicken and egg situation. And one of the reasons I'm making these remarks now in the presence of the press, knowing that this goes up to a much wider audience, is to appeal directly to the citizens of our great city and to businesses and to government departments to please pay their arrears as quickly as possible, and ideally pay those in US dollars. If those arrears are paid, we will immediately have substantial resources needed to contribute, for example, to the rehabilitation of our water delivery infrastructure, and to allocate money to renovate our roads. You can imagine what an impact 51 million US dollars would have to our balance sheet, to our cash flow, to our ability to deliver services. But we can't do that alone as a council. Management can't do it alone. We need to be united as a body of councillors, irrespective of the political parties we come from. We need to be united with management in this regard, and we need to be united with all our citizens. This is a collective effort. No single entity. We as councillors can't deliver. Management on its own can't deliver. Government even on its own can't deliver. And of course, citizens on their own can't deliver without us. And so it is up to all of us. And I would urge our councillors here today to go back into your respective wards, to make this a focus in the coming weeks, to encourage people, as tough as things are, as much as we have to tighten our own belts. This is the beginning of the turnaround. If every resident makes an effort to come and pay what is owed in, and I stress, ideally in US dollars, we can then apply that money to tackle many of these issues. And so there's a general invitation to everyone. We all need to be stewards of our city. We all need to help in the development of a sustainable city. And if we do that, then I think that we can start to turn things around. I've said quite enough. We have a long agenda today, but I'm sure that as we go into 2024, if we recommitted ourselves to those ideals of unity, of working together in the interests of our residents, we can see substantial progress being made in the course of this calendar year. Thank you. The agenda to the meeting.
Thank you, Your Worship, the Deputy Mayor and councillors of the City of Bulawayo, senior management and staff of the city, and indeed our esteemed members of the public. The legal question, Your Worship, being confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 6th of December 2023 and a special meeting held on the 14th of December 2023, attached as Annexure A, pages A to X. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Town Clerk. I was not present at this meeting. Do we have a proposer that the minutes which have been circulated are on accurate record? Does anyone move that?
I will.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And a seconder? Yeah, that is moved. We move to the report on future water. Let's go to the second item on the agenda, the report of the Future Water Supplies and Water Action Committee, held on the 5th of December.
Your Worship, the councillors, town clerk and management, I move that the report of the Future Water Supplies and Water Action Committee held on 5 December 2023 be received and the various recommendations contained there be adopted with the following amendment for item 6. Council prioritize the duplication of in-series pipeline and source funding project.
Is there any debate?
Second.
Who seconded?
Kumalo.
Thank you. Councillor Neta? Yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. My colleagues, members of staff. Item 2A, I'll speak on water delivery and leaks on the delivery lines. Siyabona kakhulu ukuthi ama-pumps wethu lokho ehleze njalo engaripewanga. The moment siqhubeka sinjalo ama-pump engaripewanga, amanye ngafalana, which means Bulawayo yonke yabe singasela amanzi. So I urge ukuthi as a Future Water and as a council, let us try by all means to repair ama-pumps. And then on leaks on the delivery lines, I see ukuthi received ama-pumps lama pipes adubukayo, it's about 22 on November, and then I repair 8, and then outstanding is 14. It's due to ukuthi kwathiwa ama-vehicles, imota yayingekho imota yanjani yokuthwala u-inspector one, pipeline inspector. So what I'm saying is ukuthi izimota zikhona city council. Amanzi, we should preserve amanzi abhestayo lana sizama unjani ukulungisa ama-best pipes, but singehlulwa khona khona ukuthi kuthiwa imota yiyo engekhoyo. Something is wrong. I think we should do that. Sizameni kakhulu ukuthi ama-leaks lana sithole le mota ukuthi njani lama resources ukuthi ama-leaks lana abe repaired, ngoba amanzi koBulawayo, we should not lose a liter of water. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nkomo?
Thank you, Your Worship. Item 4 and item 6. On item 4, my question is on the water bowsers. We hear that according to the report, we have 8 bowsers and 7 are out of the road, and spares are being sought for 4 bowsers. If you can speed up the the acquisition of spares for the 4 Bowsers. And again, if we can have work done on the remaining 3 Bowsers as well, because in the short term, we need these Bowsers so that there's quick response to emergency situations. And then item 6, water augmentation projects. If we can have a clear indication on the cost of the duplication of the Caesar pipeline, because I think we've got an estimate there of 28 million, which is a 2011 estimate. So if you can have action on that, so that you address a medium-term water needs, I think.
Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. On item 7. Okay, I note the recommendations. However, since the signing of the purchase agreement is to show support and therefore prove the feasibility of the project, I propose that we sign the purchase agreement subject to the price of water being negotiated and agreed to before any purchase can be done. This will enable the constructors of the Glassblock Dam to prove that they indeed have an anchor client, and the negotiations will protect the council against being forced to buy water at any cost. Idonke sake khathesi izavulwa before the conclusion of the purchase. Thank you, Worship.
Is there any councillor? You second that? Thank you, councillors. I was just consulting with the Deputy Mayor and the Town Clerk. I'm going to use this opportunity to update councillors and the general public regarding the Broadwater situation. As you know, at the last council meeting, the 5th of December, the 6th of December, I and the Town Clerk were not present at that meeting because we met with the Minister of Local Government, Minister Winston Chitando in Harare. At that meeting, I handed a letter to him, which had been drafted by our engineering department, setting out the current water crisis facing the city and the measures that our engineering department were recommending should be taken to address the immediate crisis. Those include the rehabilitation of the Nyamandlovu aquifer pumps and transmission equipment. They include the construction of a pipeline from a new alternate pipeline from Mchabez Dam to the pump station below Mzingwani. They include the duplication of the pipeline from Msiza to Nema water treatment works. They include the duplication of capacity of the Tuli Reservoir. They include the renovation, refurbishment of the Nema water treatment works. And finally, they include what is called the bypass at the Criterion Reservoir. That was all set out in the letter to the Minister, including the request, which has already been passed by this relevant committee, that the city be declared a water shortage area. And we asked for urgent attention on that. That was hand-delivered to the Minister by myself on the 6th of December in the presence of the Town Clerk. Related to that, and following on from that, the three of us today, as I mentioned at the outset, met with the Minister for Lands and Water, Dr. Masuka, and the Provincial Minister, Madam Ngube. And we had a wide-ranging discussion on these issues. As you know, there is a technical committee that has been established. by government, but with representation from the City Council on that technical committee. That technical committee delivered a report which included the refurbishment of pumps at Nyamandlovu and included the Mchabezi pipeline, but did not have some of the other measures that have been recommended to this council by our engineering department, including the duplication of the Nsisa pipeline and the other measures I mentioned regarding NEMA and Thuli and Criterion and the like. And so as a result, I then tabled the letter, the original letter that I had written to the Minister of Local Government, to now the Minister of Lands and Water, setting out that whilst we welcomed the recommendations made by this technical water committee, we felt that they needed to be expanded to include these other issues. I need to report to you in that regard that an amount of 6.9 billion Zimbabwe dollars has been availed by government to the council for these short-term works. Unfortunately, of course, with the depreciation of the Zimbabwe dollar, if you do your maths, you'll work out that that money, although it sounds impressive, does not actually is not sufficient to cater for these measures. It was a constructive meeting, and both the Minister of Lands and Water and the Provincial Minister backed our submissions in that regard. The further constructive thing that emerged from that meeting, and Councillor Moyo in particular, you'll be interested in this, is that the Minister gave his personal backing to the construction of Glass Block Dam and has requested that Council now provide within 7 days of today's meeting with a document addressed to the Minister setting out everything that we discussed in this meeting, including the duplication of the pipelines. I'm not going to go through all of that again, and Glass Block Dam. So we took it as a constructive meeting, and we hope that the resolutions that we pass today in this meeting will now be taken on positively by government and implemented. Yeah. It's been drawn to my attention that there are two separate... Yes, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Still on item number 7, I think I would propose that we move the committee resolution, because I believe that it is key, as it reads, that the City of Bulawayo formally requests a comprehensive feasibility study report before entertaining the proposal to buy from Glass Block Dam, in adherence to the legal frameworks, very key, to also ensure a thorough understanding of the financial implication and also the tool. So my proposal is that we second the committee resolution, because it's very key before we start off saying let's do this and this. I believe that committee resolution is very key and we should adopt it.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm not sure if you're aware that there is already a feasibility report that was produced in this December 1988 regarding Glass. It is feasibility report BUZ 3 of 10, stroke 10 of December 1988. So that is already before the council. And I think that's correct.
Yes.
So we have two recommendations. The first recommendation is that this decision await a feasibility report. The second recommendation is that we proceed as Councillor Moyo has proposed and seconded. We have two motions before the House. Yeah. Oh, do you have a seconder, Councillor?
Second.
There was a seconder. Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a question. You were saying the feasibility study was done in 1988. Am I right?
That is correct, sir.
So are we saying the conditions obtaining in 1988 are the still conditions obtaining now?
My response to that would be that obviously the geographical conditions remain the same. The climatic conditions may have worsened because of climate change. The financial issues undoubtedly will be different.
Exactly.
But in terms of the fundamental feasibility, and the fundamental feasibility, it strikes me, and I've studied this report in detail, it was provided to me this morning. In terms of catchment area, in terms of water flow, in terms of the suitability of the dam site, it does appear as if this merits further consideration. If councillors, and I understand that this is a weighty decision, you have not had the privilege that I have had of reading the feasibility report. And so it may be that you wish to consider the feasibility report yourself.
I was of the opinion that a new feasibility study be carried out because maybe the machinery that was used then is obsolete, and of course we now have new machinery that is used nowadays, Your Worship.
Councillor, what I'm advised by the Deputy Mayor, who has the benefit of being on council before, is that it was in fact revised in 2018.
Okay, if that's the case, it's okay.
It was not.
Councillor, you wish to contribute? No? I saw your hand up. Are councillors feeling, let me just try and sense the mood of the House. Are councillors feeling that they want further information on the feasibility, Councillor?
Yes, we need to understand because this is a people's project. People of Bulawayo are not aware of this glass block dam, the pros and cons of it. So if you are saying we're following the study case of 1988 and Deputy Mayor is saying 2018, the report was brought, it is not even here in our report. So what are we fast tracking on that? Because this is the people's project. We need to understand it clearly. Because if we're getting that water from Glassbook, the resident needs to know how much it will cost when it reaches to their homestead. It's not about us in the fast tracking of the project, but we need to understand it properly.
Councillor, I understand. Oh, Councillor, okay.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I think what the people of Bulawayo want is water. Whatever it costs, what the people of Bulawayo want is water. For example, right now, people are paying more than 10,000 RTGS for a 20-litre bucket of water. And then someone is coming to say that, no, let's delay this project and so on. This project is going to take about 30 months versus the Kwaishangani Dam, which is going to take about 6 years. This is a quick win project, and therefore I don't know why councillors want to pussyfoot around this project. We just have to make sure that what Councillor Moyo is proposing carries the day. He's saying that the city guarantees that it's going to buy water from this supply dam, and money is already available. Development partners are ready to fund this project. So I don't know why we are delaying this project, because abantu bafunamanzi cartels every day were being roasted by our residents, group all over. What our councillors are. But then now there's the opportunity to a development partner, a service and a private developer, and now we're dragging back. City Agula feasibility report. This feasibility report is revised in 2018, and people want to say, food. What for? The report is already there. Why must we delay this project? But secondly, councillors, even if we don't want this project, in 2015, I remember that ITF, there was a water and sanitation summit icon. The government was there, and the government said that this project must go ahead. And now, Tina, we want to then drag the project. Whether I want it or not, the government is going to intervene. This dam is going to be constructed as soon as possible. So, Tina, the government is going to take credit out of this. At least asipende the project eyi-1 ma-councillors tshela ilegacy yethu singama-councillors siyenzeni in these 5 years. Because i-last supply dam yethu yayizwa ngama-1970s, and how big was our population? Khathesi our population has grown big, but our supply dams alokhu efanana. So I don't know why must we delay this project any longer? Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Out.
Thank you, Your Worship. Let me start by saying the lack of water in our city has come with a lot of social problems for residents and stakeholders alike. And now we are presented with a golden opportunity to turn that situation around. The facts have been presented. It's a quick win project, and it will considerably improve the lives of Bulawayo residents. It is therefore my submission that we go with this project. Thank you.
Councillor.
Ngokucabanga kwami okuncane mina ngithi let's go for another feasibility study. Why ngisitsho njalo? In as much as the people in Bulawayo want water, thina njengama councillors asingeke si-expose abantu, the same people, to ama-cost esingakhangelanga. Can that study be done again and compare it with the other solutions which are there, monetary? If those people want to do that dam, bele interest yokuthi Bulawayo ithola amanzi. Nxa kulamanye ama-solutions, they must chip into those solutions. Nyamendlovu, connection of Insiza and what? Probably we discuss along those lines because Tina asiga boni lutho, asiga tshelwa lutho, we don't know anything. Ukuthi sithathe advantage ukuthi abantu bafuna amanzi. Sigcine sesingena entweni engekho calculated. I think we'll be exposing ourselves. So I'm of the suggestion that we go again to the feasibility study.
Councillor.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Udaba lwamanzi koBulawayo lungundaba mlonyeni. Angicabanga ukuthi ngokucabanga kwami ngibona ngani i-feasibility study yona ngokwayo asiyi-understand ukuthi sika uku-achievani. But I think, Your Worship, you mentioned a few things that the feasibility study needs to focus on the most. Even if the study was done 8 years ago, it still addresses the issue of catchment. It will address the issue of the inflows. It will address the issue of capacity. The issue of cost of water is an aggregate of, among other things, the cost of building the dam, which of course will aggregate because of time and the economy we exist in. But my question then comes here is, this dam, from my little understanding, is being built by private players who are going to fund the building of the dam. Then, if that is the case, how much do we think the cost of water from a distance of less than 20 kilometers will affect Bulawayo when we are prepared to absorb the cost of water from the MZW project, which is thousands of kilometers away, which will also require pumping equipment because of the gradient to Bulawayo? If we were to do our statistics from a basic understanding of figures, this dam's water clearly will be cheaper than the MZW water, which everyone else is waiting for. If I may ask, who has seen the feasibility of the Matebele and Zambezi water? And who has started to be so vaccinated by waiting for this water that is never coming? Clearly, this water would come at a huge expense compared to the water that is here. The cost built up of water is not going to be thumb-sucked for the glass block dam, but is going to be an aggregate of how the market value of the water we are already buying from Zino. It's going to be also the aggregate market, going to be the aggregate of what the dam will be constructed on. And of course, in sync with the market rates of water charges. So I think if we are to use figures to determine the accurate position of whether we come up with this water or not, clearly the glass block dam idea sells more than the MZW if we are speaking figures. But then if it's about equals, it's another story. Nyabo.
I'll go for Councillor Lawful at the back.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, fellow councillors and management. I think we need to avert disaster. We are in a grave situation. Before we went for Christmas and New Year, we came up with 120-hour water shedding. And the hope was that probably by now we would have had inflows. But sadly, this is proving to be a strange season. The rains are not coming. The heavens are just not opening. I'm thinking about concurring with the feasibility study that my brother, fellow councillor Moyo has said. I concur with that one. But at the same time, I don't know whether it's too early to want to hear government's reaction or the minister's reaction regards the declaration of Bulawayo as a crisis zone. Because for me, all these measures, the water augmentation strategies that have been laid out and pushed by the Future Water Committee, they are okay. But now we are in a grave situation which needs reaction now. Government gives us 6.5 billion RTGs. What is that? Translated to USD. But when we talk about a declaration of the city as a water shortage zone, it then unlocks funding from partners who are going to probably pour in USD funding for emergency solutions. My interest was to hear, probably you are still going to put it across, was to hear what the reaction was regards the declaration of Bulawayo as a disaster zone.
Thank you, Worship. My heart says we go for glass block, but my head says the report itself says something different, and we're informed by the technical inputs from the technocrats. So I would have wanted the committee to give us advice on that because their recommendation is ambiguous. We needed that to be clear. If it was clear in terms of how much will it give us, personally, I'm for glass block, but it's not about personal decisions. It's about them making informed decisions. So for me, it's there's a gap in information, a huge gap in information, and we should have covered that. If that had been covered, I would have said glass block one time, but because of that huge block in information, as policymakers, we need to make policy decisions based on empirical evidence.
Thank you, Worship, and fellow councillors. I would like to challenge the 2023 to 2028 councillors to make firm and bold decisions. We cannot risk Bulawayo not having water. I understand the glass block dam can be constructed within 12 to 36 months. It's credit that we can take as councillors. Again, let's also understand that there is a water committee that has been set up by government. Let's not risk central government taking credit for what we can take credit for today and now. Thank you, Your Worship.
Let me hear everyone, and then we'll come to the committee.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, councillors and management. I feel like we all agree that water crisis in Bulawayo is an issue that we cannot ignore. That's a fact. and we all want development in Bulawayo. That's a fact. But we need also to remember this, that when we are in this house, we make decisions on behalf and for the citizens. Therefore, it's very dangerous, especially in corporate governance, in terms of its values and its principles. We are guided by transparency and accountability. Therefore, information becomes critical. Making decisions which, in the name of agency, is very risky, because we don't even know. I can't even make a decision which I am not sure of in terms of information. So therefore, I propose, Your Worship, since it's an urgent matter, I feel like I can then propose to say, maybe within 7 days, let's find a day whereby those who know the project fully will come present issues and facts. Then we can make decision after, because we don't want to make decisions without full information, without understanding really on what has to be done. Equally, we understand that water is a crisis. Even that but we know what we need to make a decision. Therefore, let's make a decision informed, because we are policy makers. Whatever we agree is binding and is affecting the citizens. So let's have a day of then maybe understanding more the project. Thank you.
Yeah, I propose, Worship, that.
Sorry, you can't speak twice, Councillor.
No, I wanted to defer the report, Your Worship.
Sorry,
To defer the item.
those are the rules.
Yeah. We need to move the deference of this. Yeah.
Are there any other contributions, Councillor? You Andrew?
I of the view that we defer. I support what my fellow councillor Moyo said, that we need information. Therefore, let's defer the report so that we get full information before making a decision. Thank you.
Are there any other contributions before I get the Deputy Mayor to speak? And then I wish to speak as well, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. The feasibility of the project, I propose that we sign the purchase agreement subject to the price of the water being negotiated and agreed to before any purchase can be done. Mbona nde understand. But then enye into futhi sifuna amanzi. Ngoba singama councillors la. Abantu bahlala besifonela bekhala ngamanzi. But lina lithi hayi amanzi avusanga bekhona. What are you saying? If feasibility layo futhi phela imali phela khona futhi. Imali ezadingakala. So thina sifuna amanzi. Kobulawayo sifuna amanzi. Singancithi abantu amanzi. Yes, thank you, sir.
Sit down. Order. Councillors, can we please respect each other? Please allow the councillor to speak, and if those of you who haven't spoken yet wish to speak against him, then you will be given that opportunity. Please continue, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. What I'm saying is, amanzi ayafunakala koBulawayo, whether we like it or not. Abantu lani ma councillors balifonela kwi 120 hours there, amanzi engekho abantu ade belifonela. Lani futhi besehlile kuye ema toilet because amanzi bengena. But now we are given an opportunity ukuthi amanzi lo athole salisafuna. Malifuna kwenziweni. What councillors are, it's ngama councillors anjani? We should be kufuze siphume after 5 years there's something ebambekayo. We need water. We need water. Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Worship.
You've already spoken, Councillor, but I'll take Councillor behind you.
I think maybe it's unfortunate that maybe, I don't know, maybe it was because we were not in council, or it's because maybe we never got an opportunity to have that proper information. But what I would want to propose is that, considering where we are coming from, I would like to give 2 examples. The one of Odin and the other one of TTI. Up to now, as councillors, there are a lot of people who do not have that proper information as to what the contract and everything, the terms and conditions of those contracts contain. It's not like there's anyone who is against anything, but what we are just saying or asking for is to say, can we have that information on the table? I mean, it's actually my first time to hear about this term being talked about. And I cannot even contribute positively. Why? Because I don't even know the developer, the terms, and how it's going to be done, how it's going to be handed over to the city council, and under whatever terms. We need to go and report back to the residents. It's not like we are against the idea. The idea is a brilliant idea, but we are basically asking for that information so that when we are contributing, we know. We cannot have a situation where there are some councillors who seem to be having that information, and there are some councillors who do not have that information. Maybe for us, it's because we're not in council for the past maybe 2 months. But we are kindly asking, if that is the reason why maybe we don't know, we are kindly asking for us also to have that information. Then we can then also contribute together. I'm quite sure there are a lot of people, there are a lot of new councillors who do not have that information. So that is our kind request. We do not oppose the idea. The idea is brilliant, but we are just saying, can we have the information? Then we also contribute positively, knowing what we are into and what we are getting our council into. Thank you.
Councillor. Right, I'm going to close the debate there, but I'm going to ask the Deputy Mayor to speak, and then I would like to give my own thoughts.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am the member of the Future Water Action Committee. Yes, previously, our resolution was that we need a feasibility study. And during the course of the week, remember this meeting was held, is now a month ago. It was not held yesterday. But circumstances have since changed. That is why we are not against what Councillor Moyo have just proposed to the House. Also, we met the minister, as the mayor have already alluded to. A question was asked about the price of water, whether it shall be expensive for the residents. The minister's response was that the water belongs to the government. If we feel that water is expensive, the government will buy on our behalf and sell to us at the current rates which we are using to buy from Zino. And another question was also asked about the Gwai-Shangani water, which we said was going to be 5 times more than the current water prices. The minister also said the government is in charge of water. They shall buy water on our behalf if we are failing. And the villages or districts along the pipeline, maybe they shall get water for free. The government shall pay on their behalf. Thereby, this Glasgow Dam project is not a council project. It's a private company project. And they have got private funders. What they want from us as a council is that we shall be takers of the water if the dam is built, with government being guarantors. So, as a member of the committee, I want to second and support the proposal made by Councillor M1. I thank you.
Councillors, let me have an opportunity to speak to this now. And let's try to deal not so much with emotions, but facts. The first fact, as we all agree on, is that we have a very serious water crisis. A very serious water crisis which is not going to be resolved in the short term by the Gwai-Shangani project, whilst that's a good long-term solution to the waters. It doesn't provide us with even a medium-term solution. That's number one. Number two is that if you look at the history of dam construction, Loangema built in 1943, Mzingwani 58, Nyankuni 65, Nema 74, Msiza 75, Mchabez 1994. You can see that as the city grew, the city fathers in the past tried to build a dam per decade. And we haven't built anything since 1975. Government built Mchabez in 1994. Over 30 years ago. That's the second fact. The third fact is, if you look at and you haven't had the benefit that I have had of reading this feasibility report, the catchment area for this dam is the second largest catchment area aside from Msiza. It is a larger catchment than Namzungwani, than Upper and Lower Ngema, than Inyankuni. That catchment area doesn't change. The fourth issue that we need to consider is that the pipeline, and once again, this is a factual, immovable issue, will be 32 kilometers. It's in the feasibility. If you check it out on the maps, you can see the pipeline from the water source to the Ngema printing works is 32 kilometers against 252 kilometers in respect of Guashangani. If you read the report, and I understand that you haven't read the report, I have, it gets pumped to Mbalabala, and then it is gravity fed from Mbalabala into the Ngema water treatment works. The point I'm simply conveying to you is that there are a lot of objective facts that make this an obvious thing for the city. The other objective fact is that when this dam is constructed, it will add 70% to our existing capacity. These are scientific figures. They're not plucked from the sky. They look at the height of the dam wall, the area of water, the catchment area, and it is a fact that it will provide 70% more. In other words, it almost doubles our present water capacity. I, however, have had the benefit of reading, and I hold it up for you. That is the feasibility report that we have. From my reading of this, I'm personally convinced that this is in the right interest, the best interest of the city. Speaking to our engineers, as I encourage us all to do, our engineers are of the same opinion, that this is the best short to medium term option for the city. But I'm conscious, and I want to speak to those councillors who have quite correctly said that this is a curveball for you. You have not had the opportunity to read the feasibility report. And that's not a good basis upon which to make any decision. I understand that. In the interests of transparency, it is critically important that councillors have an opportunity to read this. I get that. I need no persuasion on that. It would go against everything I've ever stood for to try and push through a decision without councillors having that opportunity. However, we have a major crisis on our hands. We cannot afford to be dilatory. I do not think that a whole new feasibility study is going to be the right thing for citizens, because the factual statistics are not going to change. The geography, the catchment area, the size of dam, the length of the... None of that is going to change. So it seems to me that we must be somewhere, that the logical thing for us is somewhere in between. In other words, not to have an entirely new feasibility study, which is going to cost a lot of money and take a lot of time, when we don't have time on our side. This is going to take at least 2 years to construct. So what I would like to suggest as a compromise is that we pass the resolution of Councillor Moyo, subject to councillors being given an opportunity to have sight of the feasibility study within the next day or so. In other words, prior to the submission of the report to the Minister of Lands. Let me come in that regard to the question raised, and I will let you speak, Councillor, to the question raised by Councillor Alec Ndlovu. We raised the issue this morning of the declaration as a water shortage area. The Minister gave his personal response, obviously not a cabinet response, but he felt that in the middle of a rainy season, when we don't know the outcome of the rainy season, it would be premature. I'm we may disagree with that assessment, but that is the view of the minister, and it's not an entirely unreasonable thing for him to say, particularly when put in the context of his unequivocal support for the dam and for these other measures that we want to take with regard to Nyamandlovu and the duplication of the Nsisa pipeline and those issues. In other words, he's saying you need the water shortage area so that you can go to third parties. But if government is prepared to back the council in seeking the funding, then the declaration of the water shortage area it becomes immaterial. So what I'm trying to urge on all of you councillors is we need to seize, in my view, we need to seize this opportunity. Here we have the minister openly, and I spoke, the press were present, the minister openly agreed on everything I've said today. And we simply, in my view, cannot allow that opportunity to be wasted. There's a suggestion that we defer this matter to council and committee to allow management to speak to this. If that does make sense, so that you don't just have to hear my view, you can hear the technical opinions. And then perhaps we can take a vote thereafter. Is that, and if you support that? The Deputy Mayor doesn't support.
This is a matter of importance to the citizens of Bulawayo. Everyone should see us debating, not behind closed doors. Let's have facts against and facts for the dam. Openly, why is the whole world voting us? This is a very, very important issue. Why do you want to go and hide in the council and committee? Why? Let's debate here. Your worship.
So, order. I allow the Deputy Mayor to speak twice, so in fairness, I will allow Councillor Mabutu.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. We are not in opposition about this matter, but there are critical points which are outlined here. If you read the report, the item on its own clear. Read and understand what does the item say. There are indicators there which guide us, and we cannot turn a blind eye to a committee resolution. The Deputy Mayor sits in the committee. It is his resolution which he has tabled before this council. And he must allow us to vent it out, right? To interrogate it before passing a decision. Since we're not allowed to speak 2 or 3 or 4 times, we say no, so that the management has got also an opportunity to respond to this. Since it's an urgent matter, we then propose that if we cannot defer it to another day, let it be moved to council and committee, so that we can speak as much as we can and understand, and also maybe get a summary of the feasibility study and whatever. But there is a committee resolution there. Are we saying the committee is turning against its resolution, which it has tabled before this council? What are we saying?
So let me respond to that, Councillor. And let me give you some of my personal perspective. I was told that there wasn't a feasibility report. That's what I was told. And I think that the same was told to the committee. It's now been established that there is a feasibility report. And to that extent, it seems to me to be a waste of council resources to go and do an entire new feasibility report. What is needed, in my view, is for councillors to have an opportunity to read this feasibility report, and possibly for our finance department to update the actual pricings on the cost of water and the like, but not an entirely new feasibility report. But I don't want us to go in circles. Let me get a sense, what I'd like, would you move that it goes to committee, and let's see what the mood of the council is, and then if that is voted down, then we will go to a vote on these 2 options before us. So would someone like to move that it be taken to committee? Do you move?
Yes.
You move, and you second. So all those in favour of it going to committee, please raise your right hand. Have we counted? Those not in favour of it going to committee so that we can then go to a vote on the two motions. So, Councillor Mabuto, your motion has been struck down.
It's a council decision.
That's fine. So we now have two motions before the House. We have the original motion, which is on the screen there, that the City of Bulawayo formally requests a comprehensive feasibility study. That is the one motion. The second motion is the motion brought by Councillor Moyo. So what I'd like to establish is who is in favour of the first by putting up your right hand. In fairness, Councillor.
Lapa, you are misleading information. We simply wanted to understand this issue. We are not against the class block, but we needed to know the information. Now you're wanting us to vote on the wrong thing.
Let's vote.
The issue is like.
Okay.
So we just simply needed to understand. To be honest, can I finish? Can I finish? You want us to vote for water that we don't know the cost. Sitting into a second.
Okay, Councillor.
Mayor, allow me
sit
to
down.
speak.
Please
Because
sit
I
down.
need to understand. I'm representing people of Bulawayo, especially in Ward 17. I need to understand because I'll go back to report it to them.
Thank you,
So
Councillor.
what I needed
Councillor, I
is-
have heard you and I'm going to propose something to address your concern. If you would sit down, please.
Before I finish, I sit down.
Please, ma'am. I think that the councillor has raised a fair issue, and the issue is the issue that I spoke about, and that is that councillors have not had an opportunity to read this. And to that extent, if you are questioned by your electorate, you're not in a position. So what I would like to do, Councillor Moyo, is to take your motion, but make it subject to councillors being given an opportunity within 48 hours to peruse the feasibility report, so that prior to the letter being written to the minister, councillors, if they have any objections, can make that. So would you amend your motion and then we'll vote on the amended motion?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think also my motion speaks to about the pricing issue. I'm saying, however, since the signing of the purchase agreement is to show support and therefore prove that the feasibility of the contract of the project, I propose that we sign the purchase agreement subject to the price of water being negotiated and agreed to before any purchase can be done. So as the issues that maybe some of my fellow councillors are raising are already addressed in my proposal, because the price will be negotiated before we agree with the contractor of this dam. However, they should note that this dam is not being constructed by the council. I'm the chairperson of the finance committee, and I've always been advocating that we look for investors that will come and assist us, not even limited to dams. Even the engineering department should come and say, you want the construction of these roads, and they have identified a partner who's going to assist us, because motorists are on our necks, and I'm also a motorist. The roads are in a bad state, and now we are seated here debating some of the things. Maybe it's good that you're in front of camera. Those that you are saying there was they do not want to water. I've talked to my ward. My ward is here. We want to water. Let's vote, Your Worship. Thank you.
To vote, I've tried to be fair and allow an airing. We have two motions before the House. We have that motion there that we request a comprehensive feasibility study. Against that, we have a motion brought by Councillor Moyo as read out, which is not open-ended, it is subject to certain requirements. And to give councillors some heart, we give an undertaking to make the feasibility report available to those councillors who are prepared to have it. But let's now vote. So a vote on the first resolution. Those in favour of that, put up your right hands. One, two. Those in favour of the first resolution. No more debate now. We need to vote. Councillor, please sit down. There's no further debate. Please, can we vote? Those in favour of that resolution? Are there none in favour of that resolution? Those in favour of the second resolution? Order, councillors, orders. Councillors, we have the second resolution. Those in favour of the second resolution, raise your right hand.
Is it like how is it like
Twenty-one for the second resolution. How many for the first? So the net result of that is that Councillor, order.
Just.
Councillors, I'm afraid that I'm going to have to ask for councillors to be removed if we do not move on with business. Please, we've got a lot of other issues to discuss. Thank you.
It's 21 out of 34.
21 voted for the second motion.
Yes.
And how many voted for the first?
33 councillors in the House. The first motion, no one voted for.
So the motion of Councillor Moyo is passed. Can we move the report, please?
Yeah, move. The report is moved. Move.
Yeah.
Engineer.
Item
C.
Engineer Sekete, would you please? Engineer Sekete?
He's here.
Please, will you move your report?
Report. Environment.
Yes.
Your Worship, I move that the report of the Environmental Management and Engineering Services Committee meeting held on the 11th of December 2023 is submitted, be received, and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted. I so move.
Is there a seconder? You second?
No, I want to.
You want to debate?
Yes. Second.
There was a, is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor.
Item 2.
Item 2. You have the floor, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Worship. On road maintenance, which is item 2, I want to challenge the committee to be innovative and look at other ways and means of rehabilitating our roads. We know that as the council, we don't have enough resources. We know that our cash cow vehicle licensing was taken away from us. I propose that the committee looks for, or maybe look for partnerships, triple Ps and POTs, and find investors and citizens of Bulawayo and Zimbabwe who can assist and repair our roads without us spending a cent. Maybe we see how they can recoup their investment. But I propose that the committee should look at other ways. We have got different companies which can assist us with rehabilitating our roads, because we shall be crying every day, every month, without any solution, because as a council, we don't have enough resources. I thank you.
Councillor?
Still on item 2, ngilombuzo, ngiphinde ngibe le proposal ukuthi ngibuza i-committee ukuthi indlela bani ade bezisebenzisa ukuselecta imigwaqo ekade iphetshwa. Ngipropose ukuthi kulomgwaqo lwana okuthiwa ngu-3rd Avenue loyebhedi Chidepo laphana lapho kungena khona ipopulation eningi ivelela ngapha emalokitshini. Umgwaqo lwana usahambeki, angazi kumbe ikomiti yake unanzelele. Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Any other debate? Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Also tied to the same point on
item 2.
Yeah. I want to take you out of the CBD to the western suburbs. It's also related to road maintenance, but it's an issue to do with storm drainage and the clearing of the underground culverts. The exercise was done from somewhere around October up to November. But what we saw, let me say what I saw in my ward. The underground culverts were not cleared. So they were dealing with the trenches, but when it came to the underground culverts, they claimed that they did not have the necessary tools, the long shovels that will clear the silt on the underside. So that presents a challenge. And so what we are seeing out there is that we have flooding. The water fills up, then it floods into the people's properties. So that is a serious challenge.
Thank you. Is there any other debate? Councillor?
Thank you. May I answer the Deputy Mayor and Councillor here? Nge-issue yomgwaqo, Deputy Mayor, it is difficult getting triple Ps, POTs, access roads, because an investor would want his money back, his or her money back. So access roads, there's no way an investor can get back imali yakhe. So for access roads, we can only look for donors abafisa nje usilungisela umgwaqo without expecting something in the end. Then on the issue ka councillor lapha, very council we are prioritizing ama major roads lawa, ama major access roads lawa. So kusho ukuthi leyana iku pipeline siyafika khona phana. Then councillor ngeke ngakhulumisana lo director kuthiwa ilokhu zenini staff besisho that there was shortage of staff for clear ama drainage wona lawana. Even elingananzelela, even all awards, ama-awards amaningi akula lapha clear khona ama drainage. Maybe there are a few words nxa ebaleka. So I'm sure that njengoba i-ministry maybe inike i-go ahead ukuthi councillor ithathe abantu lathi saba lezikhalazo futhi ukuthi sifuna abantu. I'm sure i-management iza kukhangela lapho. Ngiyabonga.
Is there any other debate? Councillor? Thank you. Is there any other debate? Councillor? 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 Is there any other debate? Councillor?
Ngifuna ukuthi ngizwisise ku department ye roads ukuthi in Cultural there is a road which was being constructed by the government, if I'm sure. That road I phela lapho eyaphela kuthiwa yaphela khona yathi kwasala kungalungiswa ngama drainages. So by that amanzi wonke ageleza emgwaqweni lwana sesiya directly phakathi kwezindlu. As I speak now, there are families who have already deserted their houses because of the dangers caused by that. So other roads they tried to come and sort kwenye indawo encane, but abasayenelisanga ukuthi bekwanise ukuyenza yonke indawo elama dangers. Isizathu maybe kungabi le agents ukuthi kuyelungisiswa. And because of uthi what leyana yayakhwa ngesiphangephange, there is a resolution eyayenzwayo ngecouncil yadlulayo sithi kule certain point okwakungamelanga kube lezindlu because we what you call it? Yes, kusa pond, then people bayakhe izindlu khona. So there is a resolution eyenzwayo here in the council to look for another space for those people ukuthi be move beyodingelwa kwenye indawo. So I resolution leyo actionwa abantu labana lokho behlala khona pha. Ngibengizacela mina with the approval of the mayor for the council departments as a council. Sikambeni sonke we go together to the points which I'm talking about. Sikambeni siyebona danger ekhona. There is a serious danger. You witness people crying that side. Crying, but it looks like the council is not taking care of that. This is my second report. People have already deserted. They are now renting somewhere. The houses are empty because there's a threat. So my appeal is, let's go there as a council and see what is there. So that I think my honorable councillor can witness that. She's from Cultural, knows that. Ashton knows that. So ngicela ukuthi started this thing serious sikambe siyebona. And ngicela ukuthi ngizwisise resolution yayisithi abantu labana bekhitshwe bedingelwa kwenye indawo yaphelela ngaphi. I think it's another department. So that's my submission.
Thank you. Councillor.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. Mina ngikusem item 2 khona phana ku road maintenance. Umgwaqo weluvivi eMangcwabeni. Angazi ukuthi sithini ngoba last time sithe sihlezi khona lapha sakhuluma ngawo kwathi igovernment yiye ebona ngawo. But abantu bayasibuza ukuthi pho icouncil yakobulawayo isakhona nxa sisiya ngale. It's not only for what 16, it's for Bulawayo because sabe sihamba sisiyangcwaba abethu abathandekayo. Ngicela sike lebona ukuthi umgwaqo lwana unjani. So kulamadamu phakathi kwemgwaqo. That day imoto yesidumbu ifile ithwele isiya khona ngale. Inhlekise nganani imedia sigijima khona ngale sisiyathatha ngoba thina siyehlulekile njengobulawayo. Sicela kulungiswe khona ngale even ku grader nje sifaka inhlabathi sivala amalokhuzeni lawana amagodi lawana ngoba kade sokuyidama amanzi agcwele khona pha. Ngiyabonga.
Ngiyabonga worship. And lesicelo is not the first time bringing this issue. This is an issue Pelandaba West suburb. That area was developed by private developers, and I understand it was handed over to the city council, and it was handed over roads, drainages. I'm saying roads, not talking about third roads. Akula even yona gravel road. It's more like kwaphonguya kwezindlu akula any road. The only roads that you find there kungani izindlela zenqola ezamakhaya. They are in bad state. You cannot even move there. And this project was handed over to the city council. I wanted to understand from the first point, was it the council policy to say a project can be done and handed over to the council without the roads being done in private developers? That's my first question. Then my second question comes to the point ukuthi besicela ukuthi ngabe kuyavuma i-city council iyenze at least kube lama-gravel roads ekuthi kungabalemfa abantu bakwanisa ukuhamba. Ngoba as we speak right now, if there's a funeral, izimota zihleke ukuthi zihambe, ama-drainages akula. Sometimes you'd find people fight, ama-neighbors fighting just because kungaba lezulu amanzi ayangena emayadini abanikazi because akula any proper way ukuthi amanzi kumele ageleze isiyanga. So ngicela ukuthi the first one is on that point ukuthi how was this project handed over? Was it a council policy to say it could be accepted like that? And then the second point is besicela nje kubuya ama-grader by grade at least kube le gravel ukuthi even imjova yahamba. That's my second request ngiyabonga.
Councillor.
Ngiyabonga, Your Worship. Mina okwami ngikhala ngeluveve. Okokuqala ngikho lapho kuthiwa umgwaqo wemangcwabeni yebo ngizile, kodwa okukhulu khona ngale emangcwabeni abantu sokungamagodi. Abantu lapha abangcwatshwe khona ngamagodi akhona ebengifisa ukuthi nxa kungenzakala khona ngale ku graveyard liyethekelela lizibonile emangcwabeni esibili eluveve. Ngiyabonga.
Ngiyabonga, Your Worship. Mina ngikhala ngama-drainage. Ngibone lapha kulama ward ayenzile community drainage is working those. Emakhokhoba ngibone abantu belungisa ama-drainage. Kuyesabeka kukwenza ukuthi kukhona amanzi egcwali lesitishi sidubeka. Ngabona futhi kwebhawuza ukuthi ibhawuza ehamba ezifeni iyodwa. Ayisenelisi. Sesiripote kaningi ngezifa. Sicela amanzi kuze kungcwatshwe amanzi engabuya ngezifeni. Ngibona ngani ibhawuza eyi-1 ayenelisi izifa zonke ezikhona koBulawayo.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will concur with what Councillor Bofo said. Country Park ngale, Quad 6 kona ngale. Akukhuluma ngemgwaqo. Those houses were built haphazardly. Vela kuzange kwaba kwasaveya imgwaqo. And so a life was lost already. Omnye umntwana babedlala emgwaqweni ophakathi kwezindlu. There is that pit ababethatha khona pit sand. Now our residents are trying to cover that pit sebefaka nje into ezinjengamahlamvu like amahlamvu ama-sugar cane into ezingasoze zigqibele igodi leliyana. So omunye umntwana wafa khona ngale emgwaqweni wena la eCountry Park. So besicela ukuthi abakhangelisisa ngemgodi lamanjinela behambe bekhangela ukuthi sifake izakhamizi engozini enjani. Ngiyabonga.
Councillor.
Yemgwaqo waseCountry Park ngale. Maybe my respected councillor was not available by the time kukhulunywa ngakho. Kuthiwa umgwaqo lwana it was constructed during the campaign period. So this other party was trying to lure voters. So it didn't consult the relevant authorities of the council who normally does their road construction up to standard. Well, I don't know with the ikoti lapha, but umgwaqo, the whole blame is goes to part A. I will not name it, but I'm sure councillors know that. Thank you.
I'll come here. Those two councillors there. Councillor Moya, you. Just before you speak, Councillor, could I just make a general appeal to all of us? We should try to debate as far as possible in general terms, whilst I understand that you have your individual wards to raise. It is very important that we try to see this holistically. Carry on, Councillor.
Thank you so much, Your Worship. On the issue of drainage, I think we are having a common challenge across all wards because we are experiencing heavy rains and properties are being damaged. Equally, I think the council had an initiative of a 40-day period employing community workers to do drainages. However, it is of my view that those days were not sufficient enough. Why? Because some of the wards are now big because of the delimitation process, and also some of the wards were neglected for some years. I therefore propose that as soon as possible, if possible, beginning of the month of February, the council must also go back to its initiative of employing community workers in all 29 wards, because we are facing heavy rains. We cannot depend on call-outs. Call-outs are very expensive. A call-out is a method of repairing. So instead of repairing, we can then employ strategies of making sure that we deal with the issue of drainages once and for all. So my proposal is that the council employ its initiative of employing community workers who are gonna make sure that all wards are having sufficient enough drainages to make sure that they channel water, because the property is being damaged, and we as council, we don't have money to make sure that we repossess that. Thank you.
Councillor.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. Ngifuna ukukhuluma ngomasiye phambili to Godrich, i-entrance ye Ward 24, 25 and 26. Turn off lena uGodrich impilo zabantu seziphelele lapha. Angazi ukuthi what can you do for us, because our lives are lost there. Maybe robots by Godrich and Masiye phambili. Thank you, Worship.
Mina ngizakhuluma kakhulu, ngikhulumela iwadi yami iYabheki. Ayila mgwaqo. Sengihambe ngalamula ngikwazi ukuthi izinto ezingaki bebanga nje indaba zamanzi ukuthi kumele ziphume njani. Ngicela lapho likhangelisise. Njalo ngizwa likhuluma ngemgwaqo la. Inhlabathi elifila ngayo imigwaqo le lithathe wadini yami. Amagodi akhona asala enjalo. Angikwazi ukuthi lithini ngawo ngoba every year sesihlala singcwaba umntwana oyabe wele emagodini lawo. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm standing up representing Woodville, Machula, Kilani, areas that are on the peripheries of Bulawayo, peri-urban mostly. We have been so neglected in terms of the roads infrastructure. I've raised this issue of the roads from the town clerk to the roads engineers, and I don't know who to report to now. What has gotten the places worse is that people cultivate on all the free places closer to the road. And when it rains, because of the ridges they make on the edges of their fields, water can't find its way through, but it collects on an already damaged road. In some instances, you have water filling up an area of nearly 500 to 800 meters on the stretch of the road, which is pothole and not even potholes, ditches, infested with ditches. And when people drive through that road with water and ditches, what remains is broken control arms and tie rod ends for cars. And that happens almost on a daily basis with reckless abandon on the roads. I'm making a request as I stand here as the elected and nominated councillor for Ward 3. That can we at least put gravel? I understand we don't have tar and money to surface our roads, but at least can something be done from the airport road to turn off into Woodville City and Park? Can also something be done from Harare Road, turn off Mahachula North into Woodville Park and City and into Mahachula shopping centers, where even as we speak, there are pools on the road. I'm honestly praying that someday we can have a listening ear. Fine, the residents are not paying rates because of economic ills they are facing. We are begging them. But when I checked on the profiles of the residents, Ward 3 is paying very well. Can we also be respected and given the honor? That area is for pensioners mostly. And having a car breaking down is an expense that requires some daughter or son somewhere in diaspora to look at whether they can afford to fund their parents back home. But these parents are paid up ratepayers. Can honestly council look into that with the zeal and the commitment to save our society? Ngiyabonga Nkosi.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'll be generous. I will not confine myself to my ward. I think I did bring up this issue 2 months back. We are talking about national highways that traverse the city of Bulawayo, which we have repeatedly said they are the face of...
Sorry. It's been drawn to my attention that you are speaking twice. And
it's the second time on this item. This is my second.
Yes.
On this item.
Yes. You're only entitled to speak once.
On this item.
On this item.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've been listening to the conversation from my fellow councillors, but I would like to be an odd one out all the times, because I would like to tell people the truth. What is prevailing here, Councillor Mahlang, as councillor, we are all in finance, both of us. We don't have any provision where we are collecting funds for maintenance of roads. In the statement that you sent to residents, yes, it's a fact that your residents are paying well, but if you check the statement, there is nothing that goes to the roads. Then Councillor Ndlovu raised a point where he said, there is a term that I always want to use, that let's be disruptive in our thinking. Councillor Ndlovu raised something that, can you go out and advertise to people or in a certain way? Let's think in that terms. Because at the end of the day, what you want is the roads that are done properly. But then if you come here, then you tell each other that there is no money, then you don't want to bring in disruptive means. I'm glad in Future Water, my fellow friend, Councillor Ndlovu, was the chairperson of Future Water. When this class block thing started, he understood what needed to be done in that committee, and he dug in the archives of council. This project is from since 2016, but it wasn't being implemented. It lacked implementation. But you have people who listen. When you say let's be disruptive, then you don't come here and say there's no money. My fellow chairperson, Councillor Sekete, yes, there is no money, but that's why we are here. Let's think in other terms. Together with your committee, go and find ways how we can come up with triple Ps. I can tell you, if you invite people, they will come and say, we agreed, we can fix your roads, but you want this. Let's come and discuss what they want vis-a-vis that the roads are fixed. Thank you, Worship. Those are my submissions.
Is there any further debate before I hand to Councillor Sekete? I want to make a few comments, but I want to just canvass whether there is anyone else who would like to debate. I'd like to comment first before. No, I'm going to comment now and then I'll give you the floor. Councillors, what we can be agreed upon on this topic is that our roads right across the city are in a deplorable state. If one has regard to even this report, for example, the pothole patching on Paranatywe, if we look at the report, there was meant to be pothole patching between 8th Avenue and Leopold Takawira. And if you drive down that road now, you'll see it's deteriorating. Literally every single ward is affected by this, by the destruction of our roads, by the fact that drains haven't been cleared, by the fact that there is flooding. And it is a crisis. I do like what you say, Councillor Moyo, that whilst we do not have resources, if you look further down in the accounts, if my reading was correct, we got $800,000 last year, basically, for roads in total. I might have misread that, but that was my interpretation of the accounts. We'll get to that later. We need to think of a variety of broad strategies, in my view. The Deputy Mayor met, in my absence, the CEO of Zenara recently to impress upon the CEO the need for a fair allocation of Zenara resources to the City Council. And that is something that we have to keep on pushing. We have several months ago asked Zenara to provide us with details of how much money they receive from our motorists through payment of licenses. And Town Clerk, we need that information. We still do not have that information. It's a critical thing. It's a critical fact that we need. We need to hear from Zenara how much money our citizens are paying. And that will in turn give us a basis to ensure that we get more money back from Zenara. In the meeting that the Deputy Mayor had with the CEO, he was advised, the CEO was candid enough in that meeting to say to him that a lot of money is being spent on Harare, on the airport road and on, was it VIP projects in Harare. In other words, a disproportionate amount of money is being spent. So, we need to focus on that. And once again, this should not be a partisan issue. I speak to all councillors of whatever political persuasion. We are all motorists, irrespective of our political background. We need to get fairness from Zenara and a dramatic increase in the amount of money that we receive from Zenara. And it's no good paying us in Zimbabwe dollars that just evaporates overnight. We need allocations in US dollars so that it holds its value. That's number one in my view. Number two, and I'm coming to your point, in the meeting that Town Clerk was kind enough to invite me to yesterday, involving our management, there was a very healthy discussion regarding how we can better use the resources that we have allocated to us. I raised the issue of, is it Waverley Road near Renkini, where we have just spent over $500,000 US on rehabilitating that road. And of course, it's important to rehabilitate that road. But we need to think whether that was the optimum use of that money and whether that money should not have been better employed to repair potholes, critically needed pothole repair throughout the city, to ensure that not only are the dangerous potholes repaired, but also that there is equity right across the city in all wards in the allocation of that money, not just a relatively small area. And it comes back to this fundamental need of getting residents to pay their rates. If residents see that roads are being repaired in their ward, if they see our workers out repairing potholes, then they get tangible evidence that we are doing something. And I believe that we're going to be more likely to encourage ratepayers to pay. So I don't want to prolong this, but I'm just saying that obviously we need to get more money in from government, from Zonara. But even with the resources that we have, we need to use that money in a better way than these grand projects that actually benefit relatively small numbers of people in the city. Those are my comments.
I think the duty of a technical person is to do technical jobs. I'm taking back it to you, Councillor Moyo. You as the finance chair, you are the one who's supposed to look for money so that you give to the engineer who's supposed to construct a road. If you were to speak the truth, Councillor Moyo, iduty yami as a technical person, mina ngingathi ngifuna ipipe esuka la isiyabamba from place A to B, so that I can dualize my water reticulation system. Umsebenzi engabe ngawufundelayo. Then when as a finance person, your duty is to look for money so that you give it to me when I want to do some project. So I would like to implore our councillors lapha sonke nje as councillors, let us think outside the box and be innovative and look for ways to raise money so that we give our technical team to deal with the technical stuff. Yabo.
Councillor, I gave you the floor last time in trying to be fair to you. Now I'm speaking to Councillor next to you. We've just heard back from the chair of the committee. We have a lot on our agenda tonight.
So I'm not allowed to speak because of the load.
I did allow you to speak last time, Councillor.
So now I'm not allowed. I'm on item 16. I'm going to a different item.
Okay, if you could speak briefly, because you may speak.
On a new item, briefly. Let's be fair, Mayor. Item 16, I want to speak on tower lights. Bulawayo semnyama. Bengicela engineering department ikhangele ama tower lights, because our to lighter wonke indawo eziningi engikhangela khona but adini, and the marking is too much in Bulawayo because the lights are not pro. And also, your worship, bengifisa ukulazisa ukuthi thina eRobesnyoka village sithole donation yema 7 solar lights. Siyawalayitha mhla ka 5. Siyalayitha on Friday. So send invitations ukuthi lizobonke ema village. Sesifaka ama solar lights angcono kulama tower lights. In town is darker, but in the village is to be lit. So I would like to thank Amasinyoga Mashe, children of Robert Sinyoga, that are donating those street lights to the community. It's a community project. I'm proud of it because the development. Within a month, we've managed to put 7 solar street lights, and already some of them are already working. Thank you to the engineering department because it did not take time. Okay. When we delivered, they had to come and erect those lights. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor, I believe that you were then speaking to item 16. Just in terms of moving on, is there any other debate before we move the report? Let's. We move the report. Thank you. Right, where are we?
Town planning.
Town planning, please move your report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the report of the Town Lands and Planning Committee meeting held on the 11th of December 2023, as submitted, be received, and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted. I thank you.
Is there a seconder? Thank you. Debate? You want to move it? Report moved. Annexure E. To get this improved that I can go to. Report on health and housing, Councillor, can you make your report?
His Worship, fellow councillors, our council management, I move that the report of the Health, Housing and Education Committee meeting held on the 12th of December 2023 as submitted be received and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. Is there any debate?
Yes, item 2.
I'll come to you, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. On item 2A, street sweeping. The report says street sweeping activities were carried out daily in the central business district and residential areas by council employees and community sweeping groups, respectively. The rate of street sweeping, however, could not keep pace with the rate of littering as streets got dirty soon after they were swept. Yes, Your Worship, that's a fact. Our streets are dirty and the council is trying in all means to keep the street clean. Yourself, you have also tried to introduce the streeting arrangements where people are coming and sweeping the streets. One of my best CEOs, Jack Wells, says, acknowledge facts, then proceed to exploit them for your advantage. It's a fact that the streets are dirty and we are trying, and the rate of which the dirty is coming now, we can't copy. So I'd like to implore the department and the committee to try and look for other ways. Maybe my thinking, as I always like to say, that maybe let's be disruptive. I was thinking that maybe if we can opt in maybe some private players who can assist us, especially people from recycling section, if then they can liaise maybe with the City Economic Development Officer, Mr. K. Moyo, to try and maybe open some economic zones for recycling people who will come and partner with the City Council. Maybe last time we raised a resolution where we said we want to put a bin in front of each and every business premise. So maybe let's make a follow-up one on that. That maybe letters have been sent to notify those people. Secondly, let's invite the recyclers to come and we give them maybe some favorite incentives. My thing is that maybe if we allow them to come and empty those bins, then they go and sift whatever they are looking for in their backyards. Then as council, we can just move to their backyards. The residue that they don't want, then we ferry it maybe to Ngo's mine. That's my kind of thinking that I would like to implore this department and committee to start looking into. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kum.
Thank you, Worship. Item 3 on item 3 on licensing.
I'm still on 2.
Oh,
okay.
I will defer to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Item 2A, street sweeping. Your Worship, our city's date, that one is clear to each and every one of us. And in our previous council meeting, it was also raised, and we said the committee should look at the issue of increasing street sweepers in our wards. But I'm more worried about the CPD, because that's the face of the city. If a visitor comes and drives through the city, our city is now the dirtiest. And I don't know whether we need a feasibility study for us to increase the street sweepers. I am not sure. We need to increase the street sweepers. Also, the previous council resolved that we should also sweep and clean at night. I don't know whether that one is being implemented by the committee or not. But the bottom line is that the city is dirty, and I'm not proud to be a councillor in a dirty city like ours. And secondly, in our previous meetings as well, this council last year, we spoke about cleaning the city and removing illegal vendors. Please, may we pursue it as a committee and make sure that we embark on a program of removing illegal vendors. There is no excuse. Some people are saying, where shall we take them to? That is not the baby of the city. The city must be clean. We want the city to be clean. Relocating people will be secondary. So I implore the committee to first increase the number of sweepers and make sure maybe they sweep at night. I've spoken to some councillors in other cities like Gweru. They sweep at night when they wake up in the morning, the street will be clean. And also they have sweepers during the day. So it's up to the committee really and the department to look at these possibilities. As the council, you want to see Bulawayo clean. Bulawayo for now is not clean, in your worship. I thank you.
Thank you. I'll come to Councillor Nkomo just now. I just want to make a comment on this item 2. And that relates to the culture in the city and the fact that we are not enforcing our bylaws in terms of littering. The town clerk has advised that government recently has approved that the council can employ a further 500 people. And I hope that included in that will be an increase in the establishment of municipal police. But also, would the committee look very closely at how we can enforce our bylaws better? Because sweeping is one thing, but until we actually start fining people for littering, the problem will simply grow. Are we still on item 2?
Item 2D. Thank you, Your Worship. Item 2D, vehicle situation. We've got a problem with Bauza. We've got only one Bauza over the and then as it's ezimfeni ukuthi kule kufunakala ibhawuza ezimfeni. You find ukuthi ibhawuza lale yaripoti Bulawayo kwesinye isikhathi ezimfeni iqine kanjani ingafikanga. So we ask a committee ukuthi siyacela ukuthi lisinike enye ibhawuza 1 or 2 more ukuthi abe maningi amabhawuza siyacela.
Have we exhausted number 2? Are these comments on number 2?
Actually, I wanted to go back to the point which was raised by Councillor Moy. There was a meeting, I think, one of our first meetings when we were elected as councillors, where we were told, I think that was after our visit to Ngozi Mine, where there was a report which said there were companies, which were recycling companies, which were interested in our easily, like Ngozi Mine and also in town. So I just wanted to make a follow-up on that because I think that can also assist us in dealing with litter around town. Thank you.
Ma'am?
Sikhona apha ezibini, izibi ziyabuthwa. Sezikuthi ufuneka ama-trucks, le front end loader ukuthi izothwala izibi. Khathesi front end loader kuthi yi-1, njalo yafa. Mina nginezibi ezigcwele eSt Patrick's lapha. Esendleleni ukuthi umuntu nxa esetown uyazibona. Zahlala since last year. Ezinye zisemkambo kuma lokuzeni. Emkambo lapha lokuthengiswa khona izisimbini. Kuma dumping sites ezinye semadlolo. Ziyesabeka izibi. Abantu bangaze bethanyele akukhandi ukuthi kuthanyele ngoba izibi azibuthwanga.
That's it.
Your Worship, in my watch, Your Worship, toilet cleaners, our sabo use of clean toilet. Maybe once keep some of putting the swatching from the hands of someone. But my residents are crying daily. What so will pay to my toilet, my public toilet, what 29?
Have we exhausted this side, Councillor?
Ngisokuthi in terms of hygiene Bulawayo, sikhumbule ukuthi there is a country park which is using ama play toilets Kagula yini solution esingayenza njenge council ukuthi siyekhipha ingcekeza leyana esigcwele ama blade toilets dana ufu and it's a health hazard and diseases asuke countrybakiwe lapha kuma chambers because as it is now I'll spread it to him. So asingeke sibe le solution yini ukuthi siye sakha that those things at a cost maybe because the residents they are ready to say if you come as council this kipele they can pay for that cost as long as it's reasonable because 90% of people there they are using blade toilets. So can we have a solution as a council? But the residents are ready to participate on that so that we have a clean city.
On item 2A, on the ward sweepers. We know that the ward sweepers are picking up litter from day 1 up to the 7th day before the community trucks come to pick up those. And we have a bylaw which prohibits the burning of litter. But you find that during the process of these people picking up litter, you get smoke from almost every part of the city coming out of litter that is being burnt. And on a closer observation, you find that these people are saying, we don't have litter receptacles, we don't have litter bags in which to deposit the what? So if we go around a block or go down a road picking up the litter, and the litter bag that they are carrying fills up, where do they take it to? So they resort to burning. So I think we need probably to have a policy as a council regards what these people should do. Do we provide them with plastics? Do we leave it to donors? Do we leave it to individuals to fundraise? One time when I carried out a survey, the ward sweepers said that the cleansing department told them that they must go and wait for those litter bags that have been used at a central point where the community trucks offload, where the screening and the sorting out of litter is done, and pick up those plastic bags that have been used. That is the expectation of the cleansing department. They must take those, use the plastic bag every week and go and use them. I think we are putting people's lives at risk. We need to come up with a policy regards litter receptacles.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments on item 2? Item 2, because I'm still going to give the floor to Councillor. Are you on item 2?
Still for Amanita, Ward 25, but I'm complaints. I don't know Lava Bahamba, our mapping, our order there, they can't carry 5 kg bag, but you are seen that then they leave. Easy. Our data, they end up burning them. So I think they need to be addressed. They are causing havoc in my ward. They are leaving Amalita, they are saying they are too heavy.
Thank you. Have we exhausted 2?
Thank you, Your Worship. I want to concur with my fellow councillor here, Councillor Sekete, on the issue of public toilets. These toilets are in a sorry state and some of them are being vandalized. I am actually thinking that we should turn them all into pay toilets because pay toilets are in a much better state and people tend to value what they pay for. Thank you.
Okay. Item 2 still.
Ngiyabonga Nkosi. As the member of the committee, omunye welunga le committee le, ngizathanda ukuphosela inyoka ku-engineering committee le finance item 2D eyamabhawuza. Finance committee sicelani imali linike engineering besilungisele imota then lisinike imota sikwazi ukusebenza. Ngiyabonga.
Okay, have we exhausted 2? Councillor Nkomo, you wanted to, on 5, is it?
Item 3 on plans and licensing, specifically on licensing. I note that on full shop licenses, there were 42 applications, 7 were approved, and there were 35 that are still pending. My appeal is for the committee to ensure that there is there's a way to expedite the process, so that we promote the concept of ease of doing business, so that the city becomes an attractive destination. When people see that, okay, it takes a short time to actually process shop licenses and so forth, it actually puts us on the map in terms of the global competitiveness index as a city. That's my submission.
Thank you. Any other discussion on what's it? Okay, report moved. We have some very impatient councillors. I'm joking. It's on fine. General purpose. I move the General Purpose Committee report. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Any debate?
Move.
Okay. And is it finance?
Yes.
Councillor Moya?
Okay, thank you, Worship. I move that the report of the Finance and Development Committee meeting held on the 30th of December 2023 is submitted, be received, and the various recommendations contained therein be adopted.
Thank you. Any seconder? Second. Any debate? Is that
Second.
debate? Thank you. You want to debate, Councillor? Carry on.
Item 3.
Item 3. Carry on.
Finance department siyezwa liyakhala ukuthi akula mali lifuna ama-innovation amaningi kwezinye ama-department, but eyenu yiyo lo hlupho. Thina silama-wadi alabantu abadala that pay every month, but i-billing system and is very poor. Angazi khonapho lingakwenza njani ukuthi lingani liya-innovate kumbe lingani liyacabanga phandle out of the box kumbe kufuna ama-triple Ps futhi eliwathandayo. So into ebengizama ukuyitsho ukuthi asisoze sicollect koBulawayo because people are losing trust in our finance department. Abantu ababhadalayo, they are the ones that get ama-bills are high. Those that are not paying abatholi my bigger bills. So we have a challenge. How will people pay? I-finance department should pull up its tokens. Kule crisis. Onke ama-department are not functioning because of finance department. So you should innovate yourselves, guys.
There's a big challenge for finance department. I feel in as much bekhuluma, but they are not implementing attractive things to make residents pay. Their system is not attractive. In Ward 6, you move close to 7 kilometers to go to a point where you are supposed to pay rates. That on its own demoralizes ratepayers because the distance you move to the point where there is a collection of the rates is too low. So I suggest that if they can look into a situation whereby they go and create a point closer to people, because you move 7 kilometers to go and pay $3 sometimes. So it becomes a cost to move to the point then the money which you are going to pay. So they must look into that as a department. They must also implement attractive things that motivates residents to pay. It's their duty to bring up those ideas so that people become attracted. Then in Country Park, Ward 6, everyone knows it's the worst undeveloped ward in terms of sewer, in terms of water, in terms of road and everything. People in my ward, they are ready to put extra if for as long as our departments are seen on ground. Like for instance, the issue of inroads, things like that. Residents are ready to participate so that we go and take gravel that side. Residents are ready to pay extra to city council as long as they are addressed, as long as they know that their money which they've paid comes back to Country Park. Because they are now crying, but the money which you are paying from our ward, it goes into a bulk account for City of Bulawayo. And when it's deliberated to use that money in Bulawayo, to some extent it will go and work in Source Town. But issues as a Country Park is having addressed one. So the department must also look to a situation whereby Country Park should have its own account on such certain things because it's undeveloped. So that money comes back directly to Country Park before it's deliberated for the whole of Bulawayo. Because we are seeing what is a singela luto that side, a Country Park, because i-council ile mali eluchwane yona leyo yabingenile abantu be-Country Park igcine sisiye deliberator isebenze kwezinye indawo. Yet we know ukuthi ngale indawo ayiphelanga. So that department must look at how much is being paid by Country Park, especially my ward, and see how much is directed back to my ward. Because the residents are starting to calculate now to say if we have 1,000 houses, possible if singapatala sonke, what have been done by city council in my ward is less than what the residents are paying. So let's not push residents to end up calculating. It will make our job difficult as councillors back in our wards. Thank you.
Oh.
Okay. During this worship, I wanted to request the team.
Sorry, what item are you on?
Hello?
Are you still on 3?
Yeah, the same item.
Item 3. Okay.
I wanted to request, is it possible that we have time frames on issues, some of the issues that we discuss here? Because I think issue Yama bills has been discussed since last year. I don't know how long we've been discussing the same issue, and it seems as if nothing is being done. I'm proposing that we put time frames to say if this issue is not resolved up to this point, then maybe the solution to that. Because we cannot come here, we worship discussing the same issue over and over, and it's not being rectified. The issue Yama bills lay. I remember when we got into council after my elections in August, it was one of the topical issues that we were discussing. You know, and high bills, the same issue is being discussed up to now. Nothing is being done on the finance department. So I was thinking that if it's possible, let's put time frames. And if nothing is done, we also say, this is what we are going to do. Failure to implementation of the resolution. Yeah, well.
On item 3, we still. Councillor.
Mine is a suggestion on payments of vending license. If it can be decentralized, from each location they can pay for their vending licenses at their own housing offices, rather than coming all the way to the revenue hall, spending the time on queues. Hence, there are very short queues on our housing offices. I think this it has a negative impact on our payments, especially for vending licenses. The fee is reasonable, but taking your time, your fare to revenue hall, I suggest that if possible, let's decentralize the payment of vending licenses.
Do you want to respond to that? Before I ask you to respond, let me just see if there's any other debate, because I want to raise a few issues. Sorry, I can't see behind. Councillor, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, Your Worship. Let me start by noting that if the finance department sneezes, the whole city catches a flu. However, all is not as bad as we may be looking at it. I think the first thing is for our able finance chair to devise a new innovative strategy on how meter readings will be collected, because everyone wants to be built on actuals, not estimates. And then the second thing that needs to happen is for the finance department, the finance chair, in conjunction with the corporate communications department, to actively broadcast the message regarding alternative payment methods. Because in some instances, people walk long distances because they are not aware of other more convenient payment methods. In conclusion, I want to say that the idea of ring fencing payments on a ward-based basis might be risky because sometimes we might be of the opinion that maybe our wards are subsidizing other wards, and then we later realize that our wards are the ones that are being subsidized. So kindly take note. Thank you.
Right, I'd like to make a few comments before I ask the chair to respond. The first is just a request in terms, Chair, of the manner of reporting. We have an annexure regarding income, expenditure, and performance. I'm not an accountant, so I'm not the person best versed to understand accounts. But I do ask that we be presented at future meetings with a different format. What I would like to see is a complete balance sheet and income and expenditure account for the council, a consolidated income and expenditure, indicating the income for the previous month in US dollar terms and indicating the actual expenditure. I may have missed something, but I certainly could not clearly see that. If you look at what is up on the screen, we have budget provisions, we have accrued income, which is not clear to me, but we do not have the expenditure related to that. Clearly, in the format that one would receive for example, a public company. And so that is my first request, that going forward, that all future council meetings will have those consolidated accounts, obviously not for the previous month because there's insufficient time, but the month, well, as we have here for, in this case, for the month of November 2023 and going forward. So in February, we will have the year-end accounts for the entire council. We understand that they're not audited, but that would enable me, and I'm sure all of us, to have a much better understanding of the income that we've received and how that money is being spent on that particular month. That's the first point. The second point, Chair, and unfortunately I haven't had an opportunity to speak to you, I'd encourage you and your committee to meet with the Director of Finance, particularly following the meeting that we had yesterday, that informal meeting, because there were many very useful strategies discussed in terms of our media outreach to residents to explain to them the state of our accounts and the need for residents to pay, and obviously that must be driven by your committee. Those are the two comments I wish to make, but would you now like to reply?
Okay, thank you very much, Your Worship. I'd like to thank you, the councillors, for contributing fearlessly, because it's an issue that we need to look into and address. I think the department have been on record saying this year we are going to collect about 70% of what is outstanding, and there is a roadmap to that end where strategies are being put in place. Number one, definitely, is to address the issue of billing. Certainly, people don't pay if the bills are incorrect. So there are things that are being tested behind the scenes, and soon I think the full council will be notified. And also maybe on the issue, which I cannot stop talking about, even when I'm the finance chair and the finance department is not performing well, I'd like to maybe take councillors back that this year we passed a budget of 264 million. 264 million, assuming that everyone pays and you collect everything and get 264 million, then assume that we don't need even to pay one creditor. With 264 million, I can tell you still you won't, this city will still have low service delivery, because 264 million is inadequate. So when you are telling people that in your committees, maybe be innovative, look for partners, we are not saying the finance is not doing anything, but the facts are there for everyone to see that even if you collect that 264 million, because maybe to give just a background, we had a decade in Zimbabwe when the economy was not functioning, and further to worsen the situation, the minister in charge of the local authorities then made a famous decision where he said people should not pay their debts. There is a debt cancellation. Obviously, a business, you can't run it in that manner. So the infrastructure is seriously dilapidated. So when we are employing you to be innovative, we really mean that. We don't need maybe to be personal on each other, saying why are you not collecting its finance. Even today, like I said, Your Worship, we collect that 264 million. We can't resuscitate the infrastructure that has been dilapidated for 2 decades, certainly. But if we have got the drive, the passion for the city of Bulawayo, what we are always telling you, and we implement that, maybe if after we are councillor, when we are going as councillors, then we leave a legacy. When people saying, these councillors, they tried even in difficult circumstances because they were always using some other ideas. They were disruptive in their thinking. So that one, even if people misquote me, I would always stick by it. Let's be disruptive in our thinking so that we leave a legacy. Thank you, Your Worship. Everything is noted, and we are going to implement in the coming few months. We have got a roadmap. We acknowledge our deficit, especially in the billing system. Thank you.
Report moved. Okay. Are there any leave days that councillors would like to give us notice of? No? We're all working in January. Good. That terminates the meeting, but I would like one of us to pray for us. Sorry? I know, but this is the public meeting. Let's pray.
Nkulunkulu Baba Nkosi yamakhosi uNkulunkulu ongehlulayo lutho Baba siyabonga ukuthi Baba singele kunyiwe singabantu abaphilileyo nanku umnyaka omutsha Baba singele njalo kule meeting Baba siyabonga ukuthi esibudiscussileyo siyacela uNkulunkulu Baba kwenzakale kwenziwe kuwe Baba kube lokubambana lokuthula le-way forward ibe khona ngegama lenkosi yethu Jesu lebulawayo uNkulunkulu Baba iyakheke ibe iphakame iye phezulu ngegama lenkosi yethu Jesu. Hallelujah. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.